470 planes. $100 billion. Air India's latest order is the largest aircraft order in history, with both Airbus and Boeing cashing in. So what's brought about such a historic order, and what does it mean for aviation in the region? Let's find out. Now, for more aviation content like this, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. These days, when you think of Air India, you don't have the best impression of them. Founded by J.R.D. Tata way back in 1932 as Tata Airlines, it actually had a great reputation. It established international routes in 1938 and even helped the British Royal Air Force in the Second World War with shipping of supplies, rescuing refugees, and the maintenance of aircraft. However, this all changed in 1947. As India attained independence, nationalisation became a hot topic of debate. The government went ahead with plans to nationalise many companies, which incidentally involved Tata Airlines as well. J.R.D. Tata was completely against the idea of nationalisation. He was of the view that the government of India had no experience and that nationalisation would mean bureaucracy and lethargy, not to mention a decline in employee morale and a fall in passenger services. And boy, was he right. Whether it be old, dirty cabins, to frequent delays, to cockroaches in food. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, just last year, a business class passenger was urinated on. While the airline can't be blamed for the behaviour of its passengers, the crew's handling of this particular situation was heavily criticised. On top of all this, there has not been a major aircraft order since 2006. This has made everyone think twice about flying with Air India. This airline is stagnating and many would argue declining. Something needed to be done. It was time to go back to the future. In 2022, it was time for the Tata Group to return. The day after Republic Day in India, the 27th of January 2022, Back to the Future was complete for its national airline. The Tata Group had taken over from the government, marking the beginning of a new chapter for the carrier. The $2.4 billion takeover has changed public's perception of the airline and improved operational performance, but there is still a long way to go. You see, all the problems I spoke of before are well documented and easy to see, but they are just the tip of the iceberg when you look at Air India's business as a whole. There's no shortage of Indian people in the world. They are the second largest population in the world after all, and the Indian economy is booming. There's no reason why Air India shouldn't be one of the biggest airlines in the world. Unfortunately, they are not. Years of mismanagement under subsequent governments and a mounting debt burden resulted in a lack of investment in aircraft and customer service. This resulted in a low market share, particularly on lucrative routes to Europe and North America, with many relying on the Middle Eastern carriers. Indian expats and people doing business would much rather stop in the Middle East than fly direct with Air India. The poor customer service, old aircraft, and apathetic management was a vicious cycle, where market share would continue to get worse and worse as more and more people lost faith in Air India. So what does this have to do with the biggest aviation order in history? Well, new aircraft and lots of them solve a lot of these market share issues. Air India will be able to provide a much better product and at the frequencies demanded by the market, and could easily take market share away from the Middle East 3. India also has friendlier relations with Russia and can therefore use the Russian airspace to their advantage to not only save time without stopping, but to also reduce flying time overall. With these changes, under the right management, Air India can change the aviation landscape in Asia. Now, we've spoken about the Middle East 3, and one of the biggest things they are blessed with is geography. Being between Europe and Asia and within an 8-hour flight of the majority of the world's population is a great advantage and supports their hub and spoke operations very, very well. You know what else is in between Europe and Asia? India. This expansion by Air India is said to be a counterattack against the Middle East 3. Aviation analyst Mark Martin stated, "These orders directly synergize Air India's fleet with Lufthansa and Singapore Airlines, all part of Star Alliance, the world's largest global airline alliance. To me, it looks like a big game plan to counter the dominance of Gulf carriers for whom Star Alliance has been an arch nemesis, bypassing and surpassing other regional hubs such as Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, and Bahrain, with brand new planes at the standard or even better than their allies in Star Alliance, and using their geography and economic growth in the region, Air India can be one of the major players for Star Alliance." This deal is also at the heart of Air India's 5-year plan to transform itself into a world-class airline. Announcing the plan last year, the airline said it would add new local and global routes to its network. If that succeeds, Air India can turn Indian cities into hubs for long-haul flights and adopt the hub and spoke model of the Middle East 3. Many would agree that Star Alliance is the most dominant airline alliance out there, and that is true, but there is always the shadow of the Middle East 3, who, while mostly alliance-free, dominate aviation in the region. With this deal and Star Alliance's ambitions, they can well and truly dominate aviation in the region for decades to come. We are at a critical time in world politics at the moment, and many in the West are especially cautious about the rise of China. There is no love lost between the two most populous countries in the world, and so naturally, the West has chosen to have closer ties to India. President Biden has commented on the deal being a landmark deal which will create jobs for Boeing. Rishi Sunak, whose nations will benefit from all the engines required, called the deal momentous. Emmanuel Macron said the deal paved the way for stronger India-France relations, a deal that is set to benefit Airbus significantly. This decision also has had strategic implications, and solid economic relations are expected to form as a result of this deal, and this will eventually translate into closer political and diplomatic ties with the West and India. India has now been gaining manufacturing business as Western tensions flare with China, including major companies that have traditionally heavily relied on Chinese production. Apple is one such company making the transition, and they have stated that they are now making between 5 and 7% of its products in India. India is set to overtake China this year to become the world's most populous nation. The country's massive and cheap labor force, which includes English-speaking workers with key technical skills, is a big draw for manufacturers. In 2023, as global recession fears persist, India is expected to remain the fastest growing major economy in the world. It's a case of scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. India is giving an enormous amount of business to the West, and they're expected to return the favor in many other ways, I'm sure. What do you think about this record-breaking deal? Will Tata make Air India a world-class airline, or is it wishful thinking? Leave a like and comment below. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, keep flying high.